Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're completely dismantling that negative stigma surrounding sales. We'll look at the deep, honestly pretty universal psychological barriers that make us absolutely dread self-promotion. We're going to break down exactly why the mere thought of selling makes so many of us cringe and how just a simple shift in perspective can basically unlock your true potential. So let's just jump right in. Okay, think back for a quick second. Recall the last time you had to ask for a raise. Or maybe picture pitching your own skills in an interview or to a new client. Did your stomach instantly tie itself into a knot? You know that universal ick factor? Well, if you did, you are completely normal. We tense up, we cringe, and honestly, we do whatever we can to avoid the whole thing. But why? Why does the idea of selling ourselves or our products trigger such a visceral, defensive reaction? When you actually survey people about their attitudes towards sales, they reveal this fascinating, honestly kind of comical contradiction. The data shows the vast majority of us are perfectly fine, positive, or at least totally neutral about other people being salespeople. But the second we have to be the ones selling, oh, the reaction turns overwhelmingly negative. It's this massive double standard, like it's totally acceptable for others to do it, but the minute we have to pitch something, suddenly it's shameful or, somehow beneath us. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the sheer hypocrisy of our daily lives. Just think about what we literally rely on for survival. The clothes you're wearing right now, the device you're using to watch this explainer, the food in your fridge, your healthcare, all of it is built entirely on the foundation of purchasing goods and services. Our lives are just an endless cycle of someone selling and someone buying. Yet, despite relying on this cycle for our very survival, we desperately try to distance ourselves from doing it. We kind of hold on to this subtle snobbery, pretending we're somehow above this fundamental human exchange. This deep-seated disdain for selling leads us straight into a highly dangerous trap. I like to call it the good product fallacy. It's this incredibly romanticized myth that so many creatives, professionals, and entrepreneurs just fall right into. It's the belief that if you simply do good work, if you just put your head down and build something wonderful, people are going to magically find you. We tell ourselves, oh, I don't need to sell, my work will speak for itself. And hey, it's a super comforting thought, right? Because it completely removes all the pressure of actually having to promote ourselves. Let me share a quick cautionary tale from the source material that hits the nail on the head here. Imagine a small, newly opened bakery. The owners absolutely poured their hearts into this place. They made incredible, genuinely delicious pies. Top-tier quality, no question. But they fell victim to the good product fallacy. They naively assumed that because their pies were literally that good, customers would just discover them. No sales effort, no marketing, no active promotion whatsoever. They just stood behind the counter, waiting for the world to notice their genius. And guess what the result was? Zero. Within a few short months, that pie shop vanished with zero customers. It didn't just relocate, it completely disappeared from the face of the earth. It proves a really harsh, undeniable reality. Quality alone absolutely cannot survive without visibility in sales. You could literally be the most talented professional in your field or have the most brilliant product ever invented, but if you just sit quietly waiting for telepathic customers to somehow sense your existence, you're going to end up with zero. So let's take this to our next core concept and see how it builds. If logically we know that selling is necessary, and if we know that not selling leads to a big fat zero, why in the world do we still resist it so much? What's really hiding beneath that initial ick factor? Well, it's time to unpeel the psychological onion and diagnose the actual root cause of our aversion. For a lot of us, the answer lies in what we can call corporate obscurity. This is an incredibly common professional state. A lot of people actually prefer to hide in these intermediate corporate roles, basically acting as cogs in a larger machine. And why? Because it acts as a massive psychological shield. When you're totally disconnected from the end customer, your performance feedback is safely vague. You get a steady paycheck, and you are totally shielded from ever having to find out what your specific individual work is actually worth on the open, unforgiving market. It's safe, sure, but it keeps your true value entirely hidden. So the real light bulb moment is understanding what a sale actually represents. This right here is a major psychological breakthrough. A sale is not manipulation. A sale is not trickery. A sale is simply instant binary feedback. When you offer your product, your service, or even your skills to someone, their decision to buy or not buy is an immediate, unfiltered response to your value proposition. It's just a direct yes or no. Let's actually contrast these two realities for a second. Think about the psychological safety net of vague office feedback. If you do an okay job, well, nobody really says much. If you do a great job, maybe you get a slight nod from the boss. It's muffled. But then look at sales. It is sheer, terrifying vulnerability. You are putting your product, your art, or yourself out there, and you are risking an immediate, undeniable rejection. If they don't buy, it can honestly feel like a direct invalidation of your worth as a person. And that brings us to the ultimate truth of the whole thing. We don't actually hate selling. What we hate, what we are truly deeply terrified of, is the fear of visibility. Our hatred of selling is really just a deep-seated dread of stepping out of the shadows, standing up in front of the metaphorical class, and being evaluated. When you sell, you become visible. You literally have to say, look at me, look at what I've created, isn't it valuable? And the very real fear that the world might look back and say no is exactly what keeps us paralyzed. We aren't afraid of the transaction at all. We are terrified of the exposure. So, knowing all of this, how do we break free? If the fear of visibility is what's keeping us from sharing our true value with the world, how do we build a new, empowering paradigm? How do we actually change what the act of selling means in our own heads so that it turns into something we can embrace rather than run away from? We do it by completely reframing the definition into 3 core steps. Number 1, selling is fundamentally an act of help. When someone wants to buy something, they have a problem they need solved, right? And you're stepping up to offer assistance. Number 2, it's a search for a solution. You're actually partnering with the buyer to find the absolute best fit for their needs. And number 3, it's an act of care. Real selling is making a genuine effort to care about another human being's problem and offering them a realistic way to fix it. When you start viewing sales as an act of service, that fear we talked about, it really begins to dissolve. In fact, the source data we're looking at today highlights this so beautifully. When they surveyed professionals who actually embrace sales and do it really well, those respondents didn't mention manipulation or greed, not at all. They talked about joy. They described these immense, positive emotions they feel from, and I quote, bringing people joy and providing a needed solution. When you successfully help a client, when you hand them the exact thing they needed to make their life a little bit better, that scary transaction suddenly transforms into an incredibly rewarding, positive human connection. So I want to leave you with one final, pretty provocative thought. What could you actually achieve if you just stopped hiding? If you shed that fear of instant feedback, if you finally stepped out of the shadows of corporate obscurity and into true visibility, what could you build? By reframing sales, not as some selfish, dirty word, but as a courageous act of service, you finally give yourself permission to claim your true value in the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, I challenge you to step into the light and start sharing your true worth.